Welcome to Knee to Knee, where we unravel the science of connections and explore how our relationships shape our physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health. Before we dive in, a quick reminder, this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only. Nothing you hear today is a substitute for professional, medical, mental, or spiritual advice. The stories and insights shared are personal experiences, not prescriptions. Always consult with your own qualified healthcare provider about your specific situation. I'm your host, Mark Merritt, and today we'll be sitting down with Alyssa Smith, and in this episode, we're diving deep into something that affects almost every parent I know, burnout. But here's the twist. Alyssa's going to show us how we're actually creating our own burnout by doing too much for our kids, and in the process, we're robbing them of something crucial called agency. Whether you're a parent feeling overwhelmed, a leader managing a team, or anyone interested in building stronger connections, this conversation has something for you. Alyssa brings incredible practical tools, including family meetings, those that actually work, and one simple question that can transform how you handle daily challenges. So get comfortable, pull up your chair with us and get knee to knee and explore how giving kids more responsibilities might just be the key to deeper family bonds and a whole lot less stress. Let's dive in. And welcome to another episode of Knee to Knee. I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it. I'm super excited about who we have with us today. Knee to Knee, if you remember, the focus is how our connections have an immediate and direct impact on our physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health. And today we have Alyssa Smith with us. She has spent nearly 2 decades transforming classrooms and homes across 2 different continents. I'm really curious about that. We can dive into that one as we go. Into places where kids and parents truly thrive. A former international educator with 2 master's degrees and a positive discipline certification. She's now a parenting coach helping families replace burnout and battles with calm, confidence, and genuine connection. Her mission is to prove that high warmth and high expectations plus plenty of humility raises resilient, self-aware kids without losing your mind. So today we're just going to kind of pull up our chair with Alyssa. Alyssa, welcome. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Thanks so much for having me, Mark. I'm thrilled to be here. That was a mouthful, huh?
Which you're part of mine.
Yours. You had a lot to say. You're the best.
Well, hopefully, and during this, I will be saying less. That's where I say the most. Hopefully, that we can keep it that way, because I'm only entertaining to a certain point, and so
We'll same.
Yeah, I would tell us a little bit about, I love the mission, the prove that high warmth and high expectations plus humility. I want to dive into that a little bit because I'm fascinated by that. And then I'd also like to know how you went from international educator, what that really means, and then where you're at now. What was the journey like? So I'm really curious.
I mean, let's dive in. Those are 2 giant questions.
Right.
So I'm going to ask you to walk me back if I leave out the second one. Okay. The first one, let's go for it. High warmth and high expectations. What's that about? Especially layered with humility. Right?
Right.
This is backed by research in child development. What is most effective all around and what actually feels good in the process of learning, right? And all of us can think of beautiful memories of learning, right? Like I bet instantly we think of that one teacher. We're like, wow, they saw us. We felt their warmth, right? We wanted to be in their orbit. And I bet we could also in that same second picture a different person in our life who had exceptionally high expectations, whether it's a parent, another relative, or again, a teacher, maybe even a boss, right?
Right.
So high expectations are excellent because they give us something to shoot for. When we have them within ourselves, we know it's excellent. Shoot for the moon, right? You'll land among the stars. There's truth there. But when we're on the role of parent, and for me, my goodness, 10 years ago when I became a parent, what a difference between being the
life
teacher.
changes.
My gosh, right? Hello, humble pie. Give me all of it, right? So the high expectations and the high warmth that worked in the classroom, it translated differently in my home. I realized that my warmth had to get even higher and my humility had to get even higher at the same time. Because those kids are changing. We know it. The second we adapt to where they are, okay, we're in a new phase, right? Every 5 minutes is the joke. And the kids are just on their ride. They're fine. But us, we're grown already. There's a lot being asked of us, Mark. You know what I mean? So the
I do.
humility's got
Yeah.
to come in and the self compassion. This is a lot of what I coach is like that humility. Let's marry it with self compassion. Okay. So,
Yeah.
anyway, we will get the most for our kids and for ourselves if we can just drop down into, I'm doing the best I can. So are they. We can set high expectations as long as we're willing to show up with them as they're on
Right.
the way to achieving that. Yeah. And I'm sure you can connect with that one, right? We know sometimes those folks with the high expectations who would pass us back a paper and say zero, figure it out, it's crap. What that's not helpful, right? That's not going to help us get there. But those who are like, hey, here's the feedback. Here's where I think you should focus your attention, or what do you need the support on, or where's the breakdown? What's the hardest part for you? Then suddenly we have these little step stools or like the rungs on a ladder that we can cling onto. And here we go. We have a partner in learning, not a judge, right? Not a judge and
Right.
jury. Yeah. Yeah. So high warmth, high expectations will get the most, whether we're leading a classroom or a family, but the humility helps. The compassion for ourselves and whoever's in front of us doing the learning too. We've got to tune into what's it feel like to be learning something new. Yeah.
Because that can be pretty tough for the learner, the student, right? And
Yes.
so that could be a really, really difficult thing to go through from the student side as well when you're trying to figure it out and make your way through that process. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And they're looking, they're scanning. If you're their parent, they are constantly scanning for your mood, your tone. Sure, your words have a little bit of weight, but they're watching. Like, oh my gosh, did I let mom down? Did she slap her forehead again? Is there that long, exasperated sigh? That's what they hear first. And kids will internalize like something's wrong with me, or I'm too slow with this, or I'm just not smart. They'll interpret that. That's not what we meant. We might have
No,
been like,
no.
I had a long darn day. I'm
Yeah, I
tired and I
remember
still got to get to dinner, right?
I remember as a teenager, as a young kid. Now I grew up when I was young. I mean, it wasn't uncommon for discipline involved a belt,
Mm,
right?
mm,
And so
mm.
I remember I reached a certain age that's
Yeah. Okay.
and it was really interesting because I remember later, even a couple years later, saying, "Can we just start using the belt again?" Because
Wow.
what I felt was I don't want to disappoint.
Ooh, look at
Disappointing
that.
was worse than the belt in my mind. I'm like, just can you
Yeah.
can you do that? But I mean, my parents were never heavy-handed, but it was just
Yep.
we had 5 boys. My
Yep.
poor mother, just all over the place. And so, yeah, and I remember you talk about they don't want to disappoint, and sometimes
No.
they don't know how to read entirely what's going on with you. And so that's why I liked when you said, I had a hard day, it was a long day, whatever it is. Mm,
Yes. Yes.
yeah,
Naming the hard is so important because kids are going, especially younger kids, they're going to interpret us in our mood as their fault because that's how their brain works. It's just
right,
everything's about me, right? And this is in my work with clients again, it's helping them to feel like it's okay to name that you had a tough day. To name that you might need a little time to cool off or cool down before you can show up. You know what I mean? Take that time because you're helping them to grow, become more emotionally intelligent, right? Understand how to read a room, and especially in middle childhood, Mark, which is a lot of the parents I work with have kids kind of in elementary or middle school, even into middle school. Our job as parents, we're really helping them to interpret the events of their day. That's a big job. So we're in teachers and we are co-interpreters with them. And that's a big piece of our role. So how do we start? We can name our hard. I had a tough day today, kiddo. So you're going to see it on my face. You might catch it in my tone. I want you to know it's not you. Okay. And if you have any questions, cool, but I might say not now, right?
Please get with me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so there's
So,
that. There's that. That's a piece.
yeah, yeah. So how did you go? I mean, you were international educator,
Yes.
and
Yes.
number one, what does that mean? What were you doing? And then, right, international educator. Well, I taught in
Like,
two
what does that mean?
continents. Okay, right.
Yes. Yeah. What does that mean? So I still work actually for an organization, an international organization, hundreds of schools around the world. And it's all about helping kids get into their agency. Okay. And we teach through inquiry, less do as I do, and more like, how might we solve this problem? A lot of project based learning, a lot of little entrepreneurs in there, leadership, a lot of character development. So that is, I kind of accidentally fell into international education because the Montessori school that I was teaching at here in the States, kind of the board came in and was like, we're going to become international. We're hopping on here. Fast forward, I have become a trainer for that organization. And that ended up taking me to Korea for 5 years with my children. We flew, our youngest was 4 weeks old when we flew sight unseen to
Wow.
Korea. Yeah, yeah, and we stayed there for 5 years. So then the first year I got to be with that baby. And that's something we couldn't afford to do here in the States. So I taught there. I taught all the subjects, I got to in English in South Korea. Pretty cool. And I got to lead workshops like in India. I flew by myself and led a workshop there. I mean, it's brilliant. Like the world opens up
Yeah.
when you make seemingly little decisions like that. You suddenly realize, wow,
Next thing
wow,
you know,
look at
you're in
that.
India.
Yup, yup. Oh
Yeah,
man,
yeah.
eye-opening. Yeah, yeah. So that's that. I mean, we didn't expect for it to end up being 5 years, but it was just a brilliant experience. Really incredible to live in another culture and to see how much of what we take for granted is not the same around the world, right? There is a
Right.
lot of connection, right? But the way we bid for connection here, I remember my 3-year-old running, hi, hi, shouting after people, and it would, stress them out. In Korea, you would bow to an elder. You wouldn't chase after them waving your hand at them. Yeah, yeah. So
An
that was
American
cool
kid,
too.
right? An American kid.
Yes. Yeah.
Exactly.
And she'd come back crying, nobody likes me here. And I was like, oh,
No.
that's not the case. So I remember being like, what did I do? What did we do? And then I realized, oh, come on. I know what we did. We just get to teach her how to interpret what's in front of her. Right. So
Right.
we're seeing that. And how can we adjust and actually do a little code switching? 3-year-old had to code switch and realize I'm going to learn how to bow, right? And suddenly they have beaming elders, right? And it's
Right.
beautiful.
That's so
Gift
cool.
giving.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
tell us a little bit about the power of agency in family bonds, how giving kids that real autonomy and contribution fights about burnout and building and lifelong resilience, that kind of stuff. Because that's a
Yeah,
piece you
yeah.
focus on, right?
Absolutely. I mean, parents are burnt out. We are stressed out. We are slammed with all of that. I mean, I don't even want to look at my phone at the end of my day because I've got to catch up on however many notes I got from the school, right? However many emails. It's a lot on our plates. Okay. And I think many of us, just especially highly educated folks, we are constantly just trying to do the best by our kids and give them
Right.
the most that we possibly can. And our own high expectations are burning ourselves out. We are burning ourselves out. And that doesn't have to be what we do anymore. What we can be doing is noticing, okay, my capacity is spent. And are there areas that I feel like I'm overdoing? And I know any parent listening is like, absolutely. Of course, there are areas where I'm overdoing.
Today, let me give you the list.
Right, right. All the things we did for them that we start to resent, right? We get to a point where we're like, wait, they should be doing it. Great. So how do we step back and stop overdoing? How do we invite them in? Because the secret, Mark, is that the kids actually, especially your middle childhood kids, they want to be doing more. Believe it or not, they're gonna tell you, "I don't wanna do it, no." But in reality, once they step in and start doing their laundry, or if you're gonna let them wash the dishes, or whatever the chore is, the pride, the self-efficacy, the confidence, the, "Oh my gosh, I have a role in this family and I matter more than I thought I mattered," it's through the roof. And you're like, "Wow, I've got more time on my hands," right? A lot of it's just the self-imposed, "I should be. I wanna give my kid the best," but we're overgiving. We're burning ourselves out, right? And we're creating this generation of kids that and we're clashing with them, right? In our own burnout,
Right.
we have a role.
And I think
It doesn't have to be
a
that
lot
way.
of that comes from because it's sometimes we think it's so much easier if I just do it myself, right? I was very, very fortunate with my folks that my mother had 5 boys. We grew up in the military. My dad was in the military, and so she had 5 boys. And my mother's attitude was, "You will learn how to do everything."
There
And
you go.
and I remember at like 7 years old, something like that. My brother and I was in charge of doing dishes after Thanksgiving,
Look at
right?
that.
And we're cooking and we're cleaning. And my dad used to. I got so good at ironing clothes that my dad would have me iron his stuff because it was so good.
Darn it.
But it was one of those things, you start taking pride in those things like you were talking about. You
Yes.
start going, okay, this
Yes.
is good. And so when I go into adult life, and I was really, really surprised when I went on a church mission, I was really surprised at how many of the people that I was around that were my age that didn't know how to do laundry or cook or anything. And I'm thinking, how do you not know how to do this stuff? Right. But it was
Yeah.
my folks, right, that made
Mm.
certain that we knew how.
Yes. And what a gift it is.
Oh,
What a
yes,
gift it
yes.
is
Yeah.
because you're the problem solver in life. You're not like, "I don't know how to do that." You're like, "Okay, let's figure it out." You roll up right? You roll up your sleeves, you figure it out. You've got kids who have their agency, and what you're describing is exactly that, right? You know that you've got a choice, and voice, choice, and ownership are all pieces of agency, right?
Yeah.
So I saw you giggle. You're like, "Maybe I didn't
I
have a
g
choice. My mom made
No,
me."
no, 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 I giggled because the way my mother had it set up is that, one week, one of us was in charge of laundry for the family, and one week someone was in charge of cleaning up in the kitchen, and if you did a bad job, she
Yeah.
didn't tell you what you did bad, you had to do it another week. So you talked about the problem solving stuff, right? So if you wanted to not have to be on kitchen duty another week, you did really, really good, and then you got to do a different chore, right? And so, yeah, and so it just made me chuckle and like, huh, okay, yeah, yeah.
Look
And
at
you learn how to
her.
I'm cleaning kitchen, you're doing laundry, someone
Yes.
was in charge of vacuuming and dusting. I mean, she just
Yep.
divided up the chores. She had 5 boys. It's
Yep.
like she
Yep.
didn't have to do the whole thing by herself. Guys, go.
No way. No way, right? I'm not sure if my mom ever shoveled our long driveway. I'm not sure she ever did. I know I memorized lots of songs doing that my whole childhood,
You
right?
memorize
I
songs.
remember
Oh, yeah.
right? The chore chart was huge, but I'm grateful for that. And I think we lose our agency when we forget that we can be turning more and more over to our kids, right? We forget that
That's a
we're
good point.
allowed to be like, right? We're like, oh, I feel trapped by, oh, what have I done? No, you can change today. You can change tomorrow. And instead of being upset with them or ourselves, there doesn't have to be any blame. It is what it is. We can sit down and have a version of a family meeting. This is another thing I teach. This is from Positive Discipline. It's a practice I did in my classroom before I even heard of Positive Discipline. I did
Mhm.
community meeting. And really, what it is first we're acknowledging one another, the positives, but then we sit down with a challenge and we together support one another to come up with possibilities. We choose something we want to try and we go for it, right?
Right.
And it doesn't work, we're going to revisit it next week and come back as a team, as a supportive unit. And that's what we can do tomorrow. So if anyone's listening to this today, Mark, and going, I'm like over it. Mark's parents and Alyssa's parents did, you can do it tomorrow. You can sit down and
Right.
say, name the hard. Hey, you know what I'm realizing? I'm 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 getting short with you. I'm sassy. I'm feeling resentful. But I think part of it is because we haven't, as a family, set up a system that feels more fair. You guys have so many skills that are untapped. What do you want to learn? Like, what would be cool for you to learn? Like, I had a 4-year-old making eggs in my house, Mark, because she was
Awesome.
so into cooking, right? We'd pull up that chair in Korea and she would be making the eggs. Yeah. So let's get them in. Let's tap into our own agency. We're selling ourselves short and our kids short when we don't listen to our feelings, the overwhelm, the resentment, the frustration. Listen to it and then think, what can I do about it? Tap into your agency. Invite them in. And they feel so smart. If you're 5-year-olds in your community meeting or family meeting, contributing an idea about how to help dad with whatever he's stressed about, how empowering is that? Yeah.
And it's very much so, but what's running through my head as well as we're talking is, I do a lot of consulting and work with companies, and I'm thinking every one of these ties in from a team, right? You have your team leader or supervisor, manager, whatever it is, and
Yeah.
they can have the exact same conversation with their team, and then you're getting their buy-in and they're getting excitement and they're having all part of that. And so,
Yes.
but then
Yes.
you've got Bob who's never cooked eggs before over here cooking eggs.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. We voiced a need, we voiced what's hard, and we start to realize, wow, other people wanna grow too. They wanna step into it, and they've got these other innate skills.
Right.
Let's put them to use, right?
Yeah.
I love it.
Awesome
Those
stuff.
are some of my most like, the posts that get the most engagement, Mark. It's hilarious, but it's always, "How are your kids doing chores?" Well, I've invited them in. I'm a single mom. It's just me. Dad lives in Japan. So it's me and my 10 and 7-year-old. And I'll be darned, Mark, if I'm doing everything. Like, my dad stayed
Oh,
over
no, no. Yeah.
recently. Right? He stayed over recently and we woke up and we're like, "Ah, stretch." And suddenly my little one's up. She's washing the cat dishes and filling them. And my other one is, opening up the blinds and I'm up getting breakfast ready. And my dad's like, "Wow." I'm like, "Yeah, I may be neurodivergent, Dad, but I too I'm so in tune with my feelings. And my girls know that they're on board too. We're all in this together."
That is awesome. That is awesome. It had to have
No
been great to
choice,
see
right?
your dad's face, right? I mean, that was
Yeah. He's like, "Is this the kid I raised, the one kicking and
yeah, who
screaming
are
about
you?
her own chores?"
Exactly, exactly. So, well,
Yeah.
I can't tell you, first of all, I'm gonna tell you, I gotta have you back on, right? I
Uh,
know we're coming up to our end, and we could dive into so many cool things. I'd love to
mm,
have you back on with us in the future, but as we get close to wrapping up, I'm gonna ask you the one question that we ask everyone. Based
yeah.
off of our conversation today, what is one
Mm,
thing that someone can do today to help build
mm.
deeper connections with those around them?
Ooh, ooh-wee. Okay, okay. I'm thinking I had a couple of ideas because I know this about your podcast. So I had a couple of ideas and I wasn't sure
Okay,
where we'd go. But I'm going to connect it back to ourselves and understanding ourselves, but we could also use it with our kids, this connection. Because
okay,
I think for a lot of parents, we are disconnecting with ourselves and our own emotions, and we're putting on that responsibility hat and that creates distance, right?
mhm,
So, the naming the hard piece, which is something that I teach, is okay to name the hard with your kid. I'm going to give a little spin on it. Okay.
okay,
So, to lower the overwhelm that you might be feeling as a parent in burnout, right? What's most upsetting about this moment right now? It's not really about the socks being strewn about the living room, right? It's not really about the violin being forgotten. What's most upsetting? And if we can ask ourselves that, the follow up question is, can I invite my child in to come together? Can we co-create a solution to that piece, right? Whether it's I'm not sure I'm being heard, if that's what's underneath it, right? Or I
right.
feel like I'm doing all the things, right? Can you help me? But for us to connect back with ourselves, what's the most upsetting piece about this? And then the next step is to invite them in. How can we find a solution together? Because I know we all care about one another here.
Yeah, that is so great. Thank you for sharing that. I'm so looking forward to, sharing this whole thing out with everybody. There's some really great, great things in here. I appreciate all that you've done with your career and that what you're
Mm,
doing out there for not just families and children, but just overall and getting a great message out there. So thank you so much for
mm.
coming on. I'm so grateful that you could join us today.
Thank you
And everybody, thank you for tuning in for another episode of Knee to Knee. Super excited once again. I love having people like Alyssa on with us. So thank you. And we will catch you on the next episode very soon. Thanks.